He's going to press record. Is he here yet? Yeah, he is.
Recording.
Yep. Thanks for the reminder, Sarah. I nearly forgot that. The recording is mostly for minute taking, although we might post some video up of the housing discussion. It obviously in like a sensitive way, so not when people are talking about tactics and things. But if anyone on the call whatsoever doesn't want to be put into any video that's public, including audio and video, just please could you let me know? So just email me. I'll put my email address on the sidebar at the moment, but it's only likely to be honest to be the sabbatical officers in terms of their accountability reports, and then the housing panel. It's unlikely we'll include anyone else, but just to be proactive about it, just drop me an email. I'll put that on the side thing now.
Should we just get started then? Okay, well, this is my first time as chair, so please be a little patient. And with that said, welcome to today's student forum. Just as an intro to the forum, it's sort of a space where Goldsmith students are able to suggest and debate and put forward key policies for the union to sort of to push to the university, and so it's attended by the full-time officers, part-time officers, and any students who wish to join, and it also allows them to give updates to students on current projects and allows policy discussion to take place. If you want to open the chat window, it will be a good idea, just because things will be posted there throughout the meeting, whether that's just names or links to the different to the different motions and things like that. I'll welcome to the meeting Howard Littler, Student Voice Manager, Sarah Hazelhurst, Lauren Corelli, who's actually away because of illness, Sarah Baffo, Nicola Simpson West, who, as she said, will also be leaving at some point for illness, and Fauzia Kadier. And we also have in attendance our part-time officers, Srania Tambiraja, Luke Sullivan, and Hannah Stockwell. So welcome everyone. And also just to start, I'll set out that we have the safe space policy, which is about creating an open and welcoming environment within the union so everyone feels able to participate. And it recognizes that systematic oppression excludes certain groups from providing others with, whilst providing others with unequal powers. And it's a no tolerance to any discrimination of any kind, and so please adhere to that policy completely. And I think there's going to be a 2-minute video on safe space policy. If I'm not sure if that's being posted in the chat, or yeah, if Sarah should be doing that now.
I think there's supposed to be audio as well.
If there's supposed to be some audio. Sexist,
Sorry, I was on mute.
transphobic. At all student union events, we aim to create an environment that is accessible to everyone and free from any discrimination and prejudice. We expect you to uphold our equal opportunities and safe space policies at all times. To achieve this, we ask that every participant shows respect to others. This includes listening to others' point of view and using appropriate and respectful language at all times. It's not about being politically correct. This is about making sure that everyone feels able to take part in activities and discussions. Sexist, racist, transphobic, homophobic, disableist, and xenophobic comments are definitely not allowed, even if you don't mean to offend. Healthy debate plays an important part of our students' union, but it is possible for debates to get out of hand. No matter how passionately you feel, there is never an excuse for an argument to get personal, abusive, or aggressive. Goldsmiths Students' Union takes its responsibilities of safeguarding and protecting its members very seriously. Please always think about your own personal safety and that of others. Students may not wish to continue a discussion or take part in an activity. Please do not put pressure on others, and remember it's everyone's right to enjoy the event the way that makes them feel safe. If students do break our safe space policy and continue to do so after being warned, they will be asked to leave. This will be left at the discretion of the staff and officers to ensure the safety of the event. Finally, while the officers and student union staff will do their best to address individual access needs before an event, if you have any issues, please find them later and they will do their best to help. If you have a complaint to make about the event or about another student, you should approach the designated officer or staff member present, who will tell you what to do next.
Great. So I guess we can move on to just an intro to motions and voting and how it works. For any new people, I'm not sure if there are in this chat, but still go through it. So the motions are policy proposals that get considered at this forum, and any student can put them forward. And if passed, they sort of set the kind of things that the student union sabbatical officers will push for in the university. And they're open for discussion and debate during the appropriate times. And all policies have to be legal. Like, there are limits on what the policies can be and what they can do. And they have to take into account the actual powers and responsibilities of the student union. And the voting is going to be online. So there's going to be an online voting system called Mentimeter. I hope a link will be posted in the chat. And so you will log in, you'll open the website, you'll put in the code for the specific votes and your email. Once you've entered, you put your full name and student ID to proceed to voting. And there will be provisional results that are posted today, but there needs to be we will need to go back and verify that all the emails used to vote are current student emails, just to make sure that non-Goldsmith students aren't voting, because that's not allowed. And then the official results will be posted in the next couple of days. I hope that was clear. Just moving on, we're going to have a housing panel discussion. So this is going to be for about half an hour, and it's going to be talking about sort of the student housing, what's going on. Each speaker is going to have an opportunity to introduce themselves and their pronouns and what they've been working on in relation to the housing and rent strikes. Then there's going to be an open floor for discussion and any questions. And to ask questions, please do raise your hand with the raise hand button. I believe it should be somewhere. And if you can't find that, then just post it in the chat, and I'll ask it to the speakers. So please welcome Saranya Dambiraja, who's from Bristol and is a national organizer, Luke Sullivan, who's housing officer at Goldsmiths SU, and Hannah Stockwell, who's part of Gold Rent Strike and a student organizer. So I don't know who, Sarana, do you want to start? Or
Sure. Hi, I'm Sranya. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a first year student at Bristol. I've been organising the rent strike there for a few months now, and have also been involved in organising the National Strike Network, where we're coordinating with over 55 different university strike groups.
perfect. And just before we move on to Luke, apparently the raise hand button is in the participants tab. So yeah, just click on that and then you can raise your hand if you need to. All right, so Luke, would you like to introduce yourself and what you've been doing?
Yeah, hi, I'm Luke. Pronouns are he, they. And I've been working on the Goldsmiths Rent Strike along with Hannah and Sarah and everybody since October. And yeah, it's been a process, but yeah.
Cool. Hannah, would you like to go?
Yeah, hi, I'm Hannah. I go by she, her pronouns. And yeah, like Luke, I've been helping organise the Goldsmiths Rent Strike since October. And yeah, just helping out with social media posts and Instagram stuff, and just like meetings and yeah, just general organising.
Great. It's good to have everyone here. I guess we can start. Do any of you have any specific points that you want to speak on, or should I start just asking questions from you guys?
I'm happy with you just starting asking questions. Yeah.
Sure. So what actually is the situation that's going on with student housing? Like, what options do students have that are being treated unfairly? How are they being treated unfairly? When it comes to rent and housing, like what options do they even have at the moment?
I can start if that's fine. I guess obviously right now we've seen all students that are renting are being treated really unfairly. Obviously the rent strikes have focused on students that have been in halls, which has been a massive issue because a lot of us haven't been able to go back and actually occupy the rooms that we're paying for. A lot of student accommodation obviously is in a dire state as it is, and we're paying extortionate amounts of rent for it. But also obviously 80% of students actually rent privately and are still at the will of landlords and private letting agencies, and are not going to be able to get that money back, which is really difficult because, you know, we've got the option of rent striking, but it's a lot more difficult to rent strike against a private company or private landlord. So I think it's really important that students that find themselves in those situations try and reach out to their local tenants unions. Obviously in London, that'll be London Renters Union, and try and reach out as much as possible to the SU as well, who can maybe support. But yeah, collective action is obviously really important. And I know there are some rent strikes popping up around the country against private companies and letting agencies. There was a successful rent strike against a private letting agency in Bristol last year. So it is doable. It just needs a lot of collective action and a lot of support. But it's definitely something worth looking at for students, especially now when the situation is so bad.
Yeah, like just to follow on with that, like it's definitely that we're in an unprecedented situation of the COVID situation, and it's unsafe for students to really be in halls at the moment. Yet we were brought here because the Goldsmiths wanted our money. So we just really feel like the only option for the students who've been treated unfairly is to get a rent reduction and no penalty withdrawals to help give options to those in vulnerable situations because of the abandonment of the duty of care of Goldsmiths with the students in accommodation. Yeah.
Perfect. Luke, do you have anything to add, or has everything been covered?
I think that was good. Thank you guys.
Cool. I'll just move on to the next question then. So, what are the general experiences of students in halls at the moment? Like, how bad are we feeling?
Yeah. One of the things specifically at Goldsmiths was, so we all kind of arrived for the first term in September. Some people like late-ish September, some people like early-ish October, and we found that the rooms hadn't been cleaned since last March. And we understand, like, due to COVID, like, you know, it wasn't going to be so easy to get people in here, and that's totally fine. But I think our problem was with the well, obviously I'll just explain like some of the things that were involved. So in two of the accommodation buildings there was black mold coming from the walls. There's been instances of rats and other rodents in the kitchen and dining areas. Rooms rooms have been like the doors have been very shriveled, and yeah, overall just the rooms are not good. Like the showers, sometimes hot water isn't working. The water pressure for the sink is very low, and that's obviously very vital. Instances of heaters not working, and this had all been written in like a big long email to various accommodation providers, such as Campus Living Village and United Students, kind of laying out all the problems with halls, and they were just like, oh, like yeah, we're gonna do our best to accommodate you guys. But I mean, there, in terms of the time that it took them to get it done, it sometimes it took months. Some of the things aren't even fixed. Yeah, it's just not been a generally great experience for students in halls. Yeah, yeah. And that doesn't even kind of sort of talk about how poorly we were treated during COVID. I think that's a really big and important part to bring up. Mostly or all other universities got like food for isolating students, because I mean in October and in November there were huge outbreaks in university halls, and like it got to the point where whole flats were isolating, and there's nothing we can do. Like, we have to order food, like that's very expensive. So, like students aren't exactly in the position financially to be able to do that in the first place. So that was pretty bad. They gave us no food, no mental support. Yeah, but yeah, and also another thing. Sorry for going on and on, but I think this is important to note. Like we're not blaming the workers, the cleaners, because our focus is sort of on management mainly, because it was them lying to us for profit, telling us that these halls were safe to go back to when they knew for a fact that they weren't cleaned, and weren't up for adequate, like they weren't up to adequate standards, right, for students to live. But they disregard that. They're like, whatever, we're just going to throw these students in these quite disgusting halls, if I might say that, because they want the profits, and their providers who they've outsourced to want their profits as well, and it's not right, and that's why we're striking. So part of the reason. There's other reasons that I'm sure we'll get to. Yeah, sorry if I went on for a while.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Just remember the floor is open to questions at this point. So if anyone has questions, please do raise your hand or post them in the chat. But in the meantime, I'll move on to my next question, which is to do with the national rent strike campaign. And so, how does it exist at the moment? And what are its goals? What are the goals that it has for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, so basically we sort of started, obviously we had strikes popping up across the country throughout the first term after we started seeing success in Bristol and Manchester. And we decided it would be a really good idea to try and coordinate all the strike groups together and work together to make a sort of bigger national movement. So for the past couple of months, we've been coordinating together through sort of sharing resources, having meetings, you know, giving each other advice, guidance, and so on. We've now got quite like a good structure going. We have socials and a website. We're at Rent Strike now on Twitter and Instagram, and rentstrike.org on our website. And yeah, we're basically organizing together to sort of show that the strike movement is this mainstream thing, is a big student movement that's actually going to go somewhere, because it is the biggest sort of wave of student activism since the tuition fee protests in 2010. And we really hope that we'll be able to turn it into something long term, even post this pandemic period. So at the moment, we're looking at coming out with a national statement, which might include some national demands around sort of just cutting rent in general, contract releases, stuff like that. We have a national rally on the 25th of January at 6 p.m. With some really great speakers like John McDonnell and Joe Grady and Owen Jones and people like that, as well as loads of strikers from various universities. So be sure to come to that if that sounds interesting. And yeah, we're just trying to coordinate as much as possible, plan some events, plan some political education stuff, so we can keep this momentum and this movement that we've mobilized going, because obviously these strikes started as a response to the pandemic and how it was mishandled by universities, but it really has just exposed a lot of issues that were already there, that were caused by the marketization of education for the past few decades. And we want to be able to continue fighting against that even after this pandemic, because I think it's really made a lot of students realize how the way that the university is run right now is not run in their best interest. And this is the first time that a lot of students will have felt the material impacts of that on their lives. But I think because we've sort of been so successful through striking, which may have a year ago seemed like this sort of radical action, now it's become so mainstream that we really hope we can get more students mobilized into direct action and industrial action going forward. So yeah, that's kind of the aims of the movement right now.
Sounds great. And with the specific goldsmiths, the gold rent strike, how has that experience been so far? And sort of how has that experience changed how students experience halls? Is there been a change in sort of the way students feel about themselves in a sort of community? And is like, how far along in the, I guess, process is the gold rent strike itself?
Yeah, well, apart the aspect we talked about community building, like I think it definitely has been a really valuable experience of like solidarity between students, and like rallying us all together, especially in, you know, the scary times of COVID and everybody struggling different ways because of right now. So it's nice that we're all joined together in one like cause, to hopefully help sort of ease the situation. We're definitely, you know, it's frustrating though where we are at the moment. Like we're still trying to push for senior management to recognise us and meet with us and negotiate with us, and so we can get some demands met. It's also frustrating because we don't know about our first demand of you know, uncalled punishments and stuff for rent strikers, and we kind of really need that one established because we don't want to put the safety and well-being of students in a worse situation because of striking, because the whole point we're doing it is to obviously make it better. But no, it's like it's been a really valuable like learning experience for I think everybody involved in the organisation of Goldsmiths Rent Strike. And yeah, it's nice to be part of, like as we were saying just before, like this national movement of which hopefully will be like a revolution to end the commodification of education. So yeah, no, it's exciting, but it's definitely frustrating, and we've got a long way to go with Goldsmiths Rent Strike.
Yeah, just to add on, I think Hannah said it well. I think one good part or one nice part to see was like kind of like the solidarity between different, different strikes, and even with, I think there's connections to like how we're both sort of being screwed over by the marketization of education, like how like classes are having to be cut because they're not profitable, and so forth. I think it's been good to see like solidarity between students and staff too. I think that's cool. Yeah.
Oh, sounds interesting. Just related to what you were saying, Hannah, about trying to get the management to actually meet with you and recognize you. There's been a question in chat about how has the college's response changed? Has it changed at all, or are they still just giving you the exact same response? And what excuses are they sort of giving you as to why they're not recognizing you, or have they even communicated with you at all? And like how does sort of set out how hopeful you are for sort of winning this struggle?
Yeah, I think our main like communication between them has been through like you guys at SU and Sarah, and giving us updates and stuff. We haven't been able to, I might be wrong, Luke can jump in, but we haven't been able to set up any actual like meetings with the management yet. So really, like, the college response hasn't changed that much since initially. Like, this week I think Sarah was saying that someone from senior management did want to, like, was supportive of us meeting with senior management and the head, but yeah, I don't know what excuses they're giving. They're just not taking us seriously at the moment. So we really do want to like push like some escalation to get them to listen more. But yeah, we're still hopeful for a win though. Like, I think definitely like it's a good opportunity to make them listen to all of our demands. Like, we have got a lot, and it's a good opportunity to get them to listen and hopefully start inciting some policies which will help ease the problems going on campus. But I think we still have room for success, because especially with the rent rebate that they're giving, it shows that they are considering and do have the means to start actually listening and giving back to us. But it's just not that much moment. Yeah, Charlotte said in the chat that they've literally laughed at us when we raided a senior management meeting, just laughed at us and made us leave. So yeah, not taking us seriously at the moment at all, which is disappointing, but I think there's definitely room to escalate it, and hopefully it should work. Sorry, Luke, you go ahead.
Oh, no, I think you said it pretty well. But yeah, we've tried various like escalations and various ways to try to get in contact with senior management regarding these issues, and a plethora of other issues. But yeah, we've been laughed at, we've been ignored. When we have evidence of them seeing our like, for example, our social medias, like, I mean, if there's an account with 800 followers talking about all these issues, you would think they would reach out, or they'd say something, you know what I mean? But it just seems like they don't care in a way. So.
Yeah, we know they're like aware of us, but they just haven't done anything at the moment, which just further shows how much they're abandoning their duty of care towards first year students in halls and just students in general over the COVID situation. Like, not only have they treated us unsafely, but now they're just not even caring to meet with us. So it's just they're further digging themselves into a hole, and we're just getting even more frustrated and upset with them. But yeah.
Just related to this sort of issue of escalations, do you think that seeing the response that the management had to previous student movements and the way that they required massive escalation to even get any response and to meet with management, do you think that you're going to need to sort of almost start this strike without getting response from management to get a response from management?
Yeah, definitely. We've already started the strike. We've already got like lots of students striking. So hopefully it'll make them listen and meet with us. But we would love to do like larger scale escalations like there's been in the past. It's just like things such as occupations and stuff, we don't want to put students in unsafe positions. So it's tricky because we're having to organise and work in, you know, virtually, which isn't the most effective way. But we do know they're looking at our social media and a bit scared by our following and stuff, but we want them to be more scared. So
Yeah, COVID. I think I think it would have kind of progressed a little bit more if it weren't for COVID. I mean, we've definitely tried ways of doing it online, but it's a little harder to organize like direct action little thingies, you know, on online, you know. So yeah, that's one of our issues at the moment. But yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, how has COVID sort of impacted and the pandemic and the restrictions around it, and how safe you have to be with it? How's that impacted your sort of ability to organize, I guess?
Well, I can go. I think it's been hard because a lot. Another point would a lot of them would be a lot of our organizing is through like online text chains or whatnot, etc. And we think it's easier to like sort of, you know, go into people's halls and talk to them and be really sincere one-on-one, because it sounds a lot better talking about this, you know, one-on-one, face-to-face. So that's been one of the main things, I think, in terms of getting more people involved, because I think a lot of people might you know see a message on their Instagram and swipe by. They might not read it fully, but like if you're talking to somebody one-on-one, you can really, you know, sort of engage them and get them into the movement a lot easier. So I think that's one of our problems.
Just a couple things. Small update from Sarah is that the warden wants to discuss the rent strike in the sort of Monday SU/SMT meeting, and the Savs are going to try and demand that the rent strikers are involved in that meeting, or are involved generally. And there's also a question from Joe, how many students are striking at the moment? And with, if there's enough of them striking, shouldn't SMT already be listening to them, paying attention to them? And combined with sort of all the strikes that are going on with the staff in the uni at the moment as well, they're going to sort of run out of people to get money from.
Yeah, like without revealing like the actual striking numbers that we haven't got as much as we want, but I think there's room to build on more. We've definitely got a large following in the only Goldsmiths owned one, which is Lauren Hall, which I'm in, and hopefully that will make a significant impact. Yeah, especially with the staff strikes that are going on. There's definitely showing, I believe, like incompetence management, and a lot of people are behind us and backing us. But yeah, we would like more strikers to get involved. Obviously, the more we have, the more collective safety we have and more pressure we can put on them. But we have got enough that it's still a significant amount of money which we're withholding from them. So yeah, hopefully that should scare them into supporting us and actually, yeah, getting involved.
Has a big issue with getting strikers involved or more people joining the strike been sort of international students who are obviously very validly more worried about sort of the consequences of striking for them specifically, and the situation that they're being put in, with sort of not being able to have a place, because obviously British nationals will have a sort of be much safer striking than international students might.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like that's why we've put in our first demand that we want. Let me get the actual demand up so I can read it properly. But yeah, in our first demand, we're saying that no repercussions for rent strikers and guaranteeing safety for international students. Like that's the number one thing we need to get the management to actually like support and make sure it's their duty of care to make sure that all of our students' welfare and situations are safe. Like yeah, it's definitely a lot of people are worried about the risks, and especially international students, and it has been a barrier getting people involved because they're worried that they're going to have really cruel, harsh punishment for rent striking, which they shouldn't receive, because they should have the right to strike against these issues, because it affects everybody and isn't okay. So yeah, we really need the SU to support us in making sure that there's no repercussions for any rent strikers, and including international students, because it will really affect people who aren't UK citizens, like you said. Yeah. Sorry, there's a train going past. It's in.
That's all right. It's just London sounds, isn't it? I guess, is there any more questions in the from anyone else? Because I've just got the one more, and then I think we can be sort of have any conclusions from any of the speakers and end this part of the student forum. Well, my last question is sort of with the sort of big wave of strikes going across the country, and this national part of it, does it sort of open up new routes and avenues for student activism? Is it, I guess, allowing you to sort of expand your own understandings of what you can do on an activist level, at a student level, and sort of, is it allowing you to sort of build more community on a national level as well?
Yeah, I can say about that one. I think, yeah, this campaign, or yeah, the campaign, or basically the strike and many of the strikes, like Sonia said, are based upon, at its core, the issues with the democratization of education. And through our strike, we've been able to connect with other movements, which are, tackling tuition fees and just generally attacking the democratization of education as their primary goal, I guess. So I think that is because it is, Sonia is right. It's kind of like one of the largest student movement action type things that we've seen in a while since the tuition fee movement. So it's definitely promising in that respects. Like there's a couple movements that a lot of our members have joined right from this strike that are dealing with those issues as well. So I think definitely it's been inspiring seeing like membership climbs and a lot of those and things that they're doing too, and how we can work together to achieve our goals. So.
That's good. Just quickly, and I guess my question and this next question sort of linked together. To Saranya, sort of how have Bristol rent strikers, how's their relationship with their senior management team there been? Is there any advice you have for Gold Rent Strike?
Yeah, it's been difficult for sure. We've been having meetings with senior management since sort of November. We've had like, I don't know, 6 or 7 now, and you do end up going around in circles a lot. Like they don't want to give in. Obviously their whole job is to sit there and be difficult and say, we can't afford this and it's not in the budget and we've done all we can, we're supporting our students. That can be really, really frustrating. Like we've had meetings where like a few of the strikers have gone really upset because we've been talking about things like mental health support and they've just been like insisting that they're doing everything, and we're like, you're definitely not though, because we're the ones living it. I think the important thing is just to not get too deterred by it, because that is what they're going to do at the end of the day. It's their job, but that doesn't mean that they're not threatened and that they're not scared and they're not thinking about what you're saying, because they will then go away from those meetings and think that they might actually have to start doing something about this, because you are, at the end of the day, you're holding money over their heads, which is the thing they care more about most. So obviously the main thing is to get as many strikers as possible, so you're withholding as much money as possible, but they will be threatened by even whatever amount you have. And yeah, the way we kind of got any movement going was after a few meetings, they agreed to take our demands to the Board of Trustees. So see if you can probably suggest it yourselves. Ask if you can have your demands passed on to the Board of Trustees, because they're the people that will ultimately have to make those big decisions about finance and budgets and stuff like that. And if you do manage to get them to agree to that, find out who's on the Board of Trustees. You can then write sort of letters to them, emails, sort of canvass them a bit in a sense. That there should usually be someone who's supportive of your strike on the trustee board. If you can find out who that is, get them to do some lobbying on your behalf. And yeah, that's kind of where we got the first bit of movement really from the strike and the first concession. So I think, yeah, the most important thing is just to not give up, keep fighting your corner, and don't be afraid to like be very straight with them in meetings. Like, it doesn't matter that they're management, you don't really have to tiptoe around it. At the end of the day, like, we're first year strikers, we don't have much to lose, that they can't really do anything to us. And it does help also to like give personal stories and be quite earnest about it all, because they have to stop sort of being so cold about it once you hit them with like, I've actually been struggling in this situation, etc. So yeah, that's what I would say in terms of advice. And on Luke's question about activism, I think what's really great is that this movement and just this pandemic and stuff has politicized so many people. I've noticed just like in my personal life that weren't that political before. And I think it's a great opportunity to sort of mobilize those people and radicalize them, for want of a better word, and get them into the movement, because I think a lot more students are just ready to get involved now and are happy to take actions like striking and occupying and stuff, and hopefully we'll be able to do more direct action and more escalation once it's COVID safe, because I think students are starting to realize that they're able to do that, it's worth doing it, and it's not this big scary thing. So yeah, I would hope that there's a lot of opportunities for student activism in the future.
Thank you for your advice, very good. I think thank you to everyone who's presented, Hannah, Saranya and Luke. I think we're going to move on to the motions that we have going. And so today we've got 2 motions and each has 10 minutes on the agenda. I'm going to ask the proposer of the motion or the seconder to sort of step forward and speak on the motion. And that can just be reading out the submission, although if the submission itself isn't super detailed, then hopefully they can expand on it a bit more. Then we're going to, and so that's going to be 3 minutes on their part. Then there is going to be about 3 minutes for comments or questions or clarifications, and any opposition speeches can be a maximum of 3 minutes each. And then the voting is going to occur online, as I said earlier, with any amendments that are put forward in that time will be sort of added to the motion. So the first meeting is the motions should be posted in the chat. So the first motion is a housing proposition. It is, one second. Yeah, so to support Goldsmiths' rent strikes demand and rent and the rent strikers in general. So the proposer is Luke Sullivan, and the seconder is Georgie Hodges. Would either of you like to step forward and present this motion? You can read it for yourself in the chat.
Oh, there's my camera, sorry. So this motion is essentially in support of the rent strike. I'm going to try and read through it because it's quite long. But this union basically notes that the lockdown has meant students are unable to return to their term time addresses for a minimum of 6 weeks, despite them not living there, and having to still continue paying their contracts. Rent in student accommodations continue to increase, with more student halls of residence being managed by private companies such as CLD, United Students, Chapter Living, and Homes for Students. And there's no sign of rent rises ceasing in coming years. For the vast majority of students, maintenance loans will not cover or barely cover the cost of rent, and this is creating a housing benefit style situation. where the state is spending billions on subsiding university surpluses in order to keep students in halls rather than introducing rent caps. This union believes that safe housing is a right, not a privilege, and affordability is essential to ensuring everyone has access to higher education without being driven into poverty or poor health. Maintenance repairs in halls are not being followed up quick enough and are often poorly repaired, leaving students living in dangerous situations. Students' landlords are profiting off of student poverty, and students have the full right to input on the rent setting process. Goldsmiths has a duty of care to its students in which they are responsible for the poor conditions that they have to offer in student accommodation, both provided by Goldsmiths and those managed by private associations. Goldsmiths has had an active role in the gentrification of Lewisham and its surrounding boroughs. The local community has been heavily impacted by this, especially with the development of privately run halls of residents, which have had a large economic impact on both the community as well as students. And we cannot ignore the interlinked struggles that both us as students and our local community face at the hands of Goldsmiths' actions. And this union resolves or mandates is essentially to support the Goldsmiths rent demands, which are outlined. I don't know if you want to scroll down a little bit so everyone can see that. I don't know who's controlling the screen. Yeah, so those are our demands. I'm not going to go through them. I think everyone can read them. And if you scroll down a little bit more, what we're asking for the student union to do is to basically get us a meeting with senior management team in the next 2 weeks, so essentially by the 3rd of February, and for that to be followed up with a meeting with Campus Living Villages and another meeting with Unite within 2 weeks of our meeting with senior management team. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Georgie. Luke, do you have anything to add?
Vote in favor.
All right, so the floor is now open to any questions or discussion or clarifications. Does anyone have any? Looks like Maria has a question. So she says, hi all, my question is more generic. I decided to attend this event as a confused, kept in the dark, disappointed, outraged first-year student after having found out, mainly on my own initiative, about the strike action taking place at the moment. As first years, our university experience is a laptop. How would you advise us to get to know more about what's going on so as to avoid being misled or misinformed or kept in the dark about these burning matters as the assessment, such as the assessment boycott?
So this is about the rent strike. I think the students referring to the UC assessment boycott. We can talk about that in the next section because we do have a few updates.
All right, so we'll shelve this question for now and bring it up a little bit later. Does anyone else have any questions about the motion itself? All right. It looks like that motion has been accepted for voting. Well done, guys. So we're going to move on to the second motion, which you can find in the Google Doc in the chat as well. And the proposer is Phoenix Coulson Johnson, and the seconder is Ethan Herlock, but I'm not sure whether either of them are here at the moment. Yeah, so I'm happy to read it unless Sarah Hazel first wants to, or but I'm happy to read that. So sure. Yeah, I'll just go over it now. The title of the motion is a no detriment policy. And so the purpose of it is to ensure that there is a no detriment policy put in place for exam periods this year for students affected by the pandemic. So the section 1 is the union. This union notes that many students will be affected by the pandemic and the quality of their work may suffer. And this union believes that its purpose is to support students through hardship. Third section, this union resolves to ensure no detriment policy is still put in place like it was in the spring of 2020. So fairly basic, easy to understand motion, I think. So I don't know, does anyone have any amendments they'd like to make to it, or any comments about the motion, or any confusion about the motion? It looks like that's clear as well. I think we're going to go to voting now. So the link should be posted in the chat to the menti.com, and then please follow the instructions that are on the screen. That should be shared on the screen, and then so we'll do the vote. We'll take about 5 minutes for that, and then on the hour we're going to have a break to go to the toilet, get some water, have a snack, something like that. Yeah, so everyone should go to menti.com. Yeah, if you just look at the screen share and use that code, then you can vote. We can just start that now.
Sorry, can we vote as well?
Yeah, everyone who's a Goldsmith student can vote. You just need to include your student ID and full name and your email, and it'll ask for all of that. Yeah, go for it, and that'll be over the next 4 minutes. Then we're going to have a break. No, it should be the same code, and then you just to Hannah, you just then you click vote, and then it goes straight on to the second.
Okay, yeah, I'll have a look.
So just one more minute. We're a bit less even, and everyone should have, 1 minute until voting closes, everyone. So if you've not, please get to it.
Next time we'll have the countdown music on in the background just to add a bit of spice to the whole arrangement.
What a truth.
All right. I hope everyone had a chance to vote. We're going to take a 5-minute break now. So at 6 past, we'll please come back to start the next section of the forum. All right. Are we waiting on anyone? Is everyone back? Not sure how we can verify that. Maybe just say hi in the chat if you're back, or switch on your camera or whatever.
I am back.
So I can see 8 hellos in the chat. Yeah, it looks like we're revealing the results of the vote. So the rent strike looks like it passed. All the votes were for, all 8 votes. And motion 2 looks like it also passed. And just again, these are temporary results while we go back and verify that all the emails used to vote were student emails, but they should be fairly similar. Yeah, I think we'll just get right back to the meeting. Okay, so first of all, we'll move into the results of the part-time officer by-elections. So there were 5 positions that were up for by-elections and they closed this morning. The nominees are all going to be posted in chat. For BME Students Officer, the nominees were Rida Sadia Rahman, Lydia O'Shaughnessy, Jade Lindo, and Tolu Odunjo. For the LGBTQ+ Students Officer, they were Milda Sesnule Vikiute, Lucy Mudel, and Charlotte Weston. For Care Leavers and Estranged Students Officer, they were just Sophie Stedman, and the Palestine Twinning Officer and Sports Officer were uncontested. So just thank you to everyone who took part in these by-elections and everyone who voted. The successful students that are going to go on and join who were voted in, or the results are: for BME Students Officer, it was Jade Lindo. For Care Leavers and Estranged Students Officer, it was Sophie Stedman. For LGBTQ+ Students Officer, it was Charlotte Weston. And again, the Palestine Twinning Officer and Sports Officer were uncontested, so no nominations. So congratulations to everyone who got voted in. I think we're going to move on now to the full-time officer accountability reports, which are 5 minutes each. So each of you has 5 minutes to speak, and then there's going to be an opportunity for Q&As from the audience. So for the president who's not here, for Lauren, I believe there is a statement that was prepared. So I'm not sure who's going to read that out. If you want to go now.
Which officer is going first? Is it Nikita?
Yeah, the president. Oh, the statement from the president, rather. I don't know which view.
I will. I'll post this on the
comments.
comment.
I was told there was.
I will post the. I'll post Lauren's statement on the side bar,
okay.
So people can read it there, and then we can just start with someone else.
Okay, sure. I guess Nicola, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm happy to go.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for your time and for coming, and once again congratulations to the part-time officers. Thank you to the chair for my time to speak. So my name is Nikila and I'm the current campaigns and activities officer for this academic year. I'm primarily responsible for overseeing student activities relating to, but not limited to, sports, societies, and overseeing any campaigns directly related to students. At the start of the term, I was part of a team overseeing Freshers Week, which was our first one, primarily taking place on an online platform, which is new to all of us. It was a success, and I attended many of the Welcome Week events hosted by various societies. Since then, we've successfully planned a subsequent Welcome Back Week, which has started this week. And the remainder of my time, outside of making contact with individual students regarding their concerns, has been spent liaising with student leaders. So that's the head of our societies, teams, and communities. The current development and communities team has also been doing the same. So we've been talking to liberation groups as well at the union, and also I've been connecting with some of the new part-time officers, and I look forward to connecting with the brand new ones we have. Since being elected, one of my main priorities has been to establish and maintain a close relationship with student leaders, the ones that we have as an official leaders within the SU and also outside affiliated groups. Combined with the efforts of the development and communities team. I believe that I've done that. I meet monthly with student leaders and I make myself readily available through social media and via one-to-one meetings. Recently, I set up a Discord server for student leaders to talk regularly outside of SU meetings that we have, so just on a social basis. And we've also recently set up a icebreaker session for student leaders, as well as our regular icebreakers for liberation groups. I've also been overseeing the trials for University Challenge. We have a team and hopefully they will, fingers crossed, get through to the televised shows broadcast on ITV or BBC. Sorry, I won't take too much longer. I'm looking forward to working with the part-time officers, and with this forum support, I would like to instate an SU policy that each society, team, and community plan at least one dry event, meaning void of alcohol, every year, and also take into consideration mature students and students with care responsibilities at all their events. So this could mean having them earlier or having them for longer or shorter periods of time. I think I will invite any questions. I want to thank you for listening. And yes, feel free to get in touch with me via email. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nikila. That was very good. So the floor is now open for any questions that anyone has to do with the campaigns and activities. Please just raise your hand or post it in the chat, as always. I'll just give people a minute to think of things.
Yes, please do. I'll put my email in the chat as well, just in case anyone doesn't have it.
Georgie said just a huge thanks for helping out with running society, especially throughout this year. And I definitely echo that. Nikila has done such an amazing job with societies. Really proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate everyone's support. And two things, if I can just say, please do support the events going on this week for Welcome Back Week. Several societies are putting on events. And also one of our societies is putting on a event surrounding student law and university law. We're trying to plan it. So if anybody would like to be involved or would like to suggest issues to talk about, please do email me as well, and I can give you more details. Thank you.
Perfect. Do we want to move on to the Welfare and Liberation Officer?
Yes, I'm going to turn off.
Speak?
Yes, I'm going to turn off my camera because my internet connection is really bad.
Yeah, no problem.
Just before I start, I do want to acknowledge that a lot of the work we do as like me, Nicola and Fauzia is interconnected to the work Lauren is doing. Lauren has given her life to the SU over the last year and a half. So I think it's really important to acknowledge when we do bullet point the things we've been working on is alongside the work Lauren has been doing and will continue to do. So yeah, I'll start now. My name is Sarah, I'm the Welfare and Liberation Officer. My role is to represent Goldsmith students on matters relating to welfare, such as your mental health and liberation, and I work closely with liberation groups. Also, I've extended this to supporting the local community because all of our struggles are interconnected. Since being elected, I've been working on numerous projects and campaigns to ensure that students' concerns are listened to and acted upon. One of the main things that I've been working on is to ensure that the university improve the living conditions in halls. Before the rent strike was announced on January 9th, I was working closely with the rent strikers to ensure that the living conditions is addressed and acted upon. I've sat on committees highlighting that students are living in rat-infested moldy flats while receiving little to no support, especially international students. So I sit in a health and safety subcommittee and have been trying to highlight this for many months before the rent strike was announced. So again, the rent strike is a very last resort to addressing this to the university. Also, one of my main priorities over the last couple of months have been to ensure that both the university and student union is doing racial justice work that benefits and protects Black and POC students. So also we sit on the racial justice board and we push the university to fulfill the GAVA demands. And I will talk about which GAVA demands we have won over the last couple of weeks. Also in the start of my term, alongside the amazing SABs and students, we got Jumat prayer, Friday prayers to be implemented in the timetables. So Muslim students no longer need to pick between prayer or lectures. Also, we're doing a massive restructure in our student union to ensure that liberation is at the core of what we do. I recently launched a Liberate My Union campaign, which is a bottom-up approach that asks liberation groups directly what we can do as a union to ensure that we are protecting and listening to these groups. Also, I was able to get the 20K Black History Month funding released. Also, I think just to add that a lot of the things I'm bullet pointing is not just like an individual achievement, it's alongside like amazing activists and the SAB team. So we were able to get the 20K Black History Month funding to be released. And this is an annual fund for Black students and the local community. Also, I've been sitting in consultations to remove the racist slave statues on top of that for Town Hall. So we sit in consultations. I've been trying to push for the GAVA demands, I already said that. Also, I was able to get wellbeing advisors that are culturally competent. So last time, we were able to get 2 advisors that have went through cultural competency training and continue to address anti-racism as a form of their practice. Also, we were able to get funding for the Against Sexual Violence campaign. As many of you know, the university decided to defund the project. So we were able to get that funding back last term and also reimagine how we talk about sexual harassment and sexual violence on campus. Also, I'm working on a national campaign alongside amazing activists to look at tuition refunds and rent rebates. So similar to what everyone has already spoken about, we are trying to lobby the government and university minister to ensure that tuition refunds and rent rebates are at the center of the conversation. Me and Lauren were able to sit in a meeting with the university minister and speak directly to her about the concerns of students. Did I say all my points? Apologies if it's all over the place. I had to write this really quickly today. Yeah, I think that's most of my points so far. Thank you. Is there any questions?
Yeah, so the floor is now open for any questions or comments. Look.
I can answer the UC question if that's appropriate. Yeah.
Actually, 1 second, let me just double check. Let me double check the question, see if it applies. Sorry. I think we can save it just for the last 20 minutes after all of the reports, and we'll just keep this sort of more focused on the activities of the specific sabbatical officer roles, because there will be the floor will be open later to talk about other things. So we'll save that for then, I think.
Thank you. One last point is, if anyone is interested, myself and a few students are launching a mutual aid campaign that will hopefully commence in the end of this month. So that will look at how we can support the local community and students who are financially struggling. So if anyone is interested, please just message me and that will start commencing hopefully soon.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So Lauren's statement has been on Twitter, has been posted in the chat if anyone wants to have a look at that. So I think we can move on to Fauzia, the education officer, if you would like to start your part.
Sorry for not turning my camera on. I managed to poke myself in the eye this afternoon, and it's not a pretty sight, so I'm going to keep my camera off. I just wanted to start off by kind of saying thank you to everyone on the SAB team and everyone at the SU team and all the part-time officers and everyone here. It's been like a really tough time since we came into post about 7 months ago until now, obviously with COVID and the national lockdown, kind of all the changes, and just to kind of pat you guys all on the back for your resilience and how you've managed to kind of stay engaged with all of us, stay engaged with your studies and kind of preserve yourselves throughout this really hard time. And just to let you know to keep taking care of yourselves and make sure you're resting during all this times. And I hope everyone's exams and stuff are going great. Congratulations to all the part-time officers who have been elected, and thank you so much to Oscar for doing all this for us. You've been a great host. It has been a roller coaster ride being a SAB this year, and some of the stuff I've been working on, I try to get the main points, but as an educational officer, obviously I'm in charge of kind of all things to do with education. But a lot of my work bleeds into Sarah's and Nikila's and Lauren's work and so forth. We kind of all do the same kind of mishmash of stuff. So this is not all necessarily education officer stuff. So yeah, like Sarah touched on, I think one of the first wins that we got was the prayer time for Muslim students on Fridays. And I think that was such a huge win. And I think an amazing thing to start on for all of us, and especially the Muslim students on campus. A big thing that I was working on as well was a lot of the things to do with the SU and the rep system. We managed to get an amazing cohort of reps in this year, so engaged, so informative, kind of so willing to do so much work to better student experience. And that's been an invaluable help to kind of me and the work I do in the other SABs. We've been in chat with the college about kind of what a BME rep role will look like and how we can get that in place. There have been some changes to the rep system, and it's just been kind of working through that and making sure the college is supporting us in supporting our reps. We've got monthly meetings with the rep meetings in which they kind of give us feedback, and like I said, completely invaluable, like so invaluable to us, and helps me with my conversations with the college. Another thing that takes up a lot of time for me and the other SABs is being on committees and boards. Some really important ones that I've been on recently include the teaching and learning, which is a COVID work stream where I'm able to take all the student concerns that I get in regards to teaching and learning directly to senior management, and we're able to work through all of that. academic board, and more recently council, which Lauren used to sit on, but I've taken over for her in her absence, which kind of allows me to advocate for student voice in those systems. A lot of those committees are kind of jargon heavy and a lot of senior management internal works, but still the voices of students are really important in those spaces. And I take those in and I make sure you guys are being heard, even if you're not being seen. We had Black History Month in October, which was really hard to imagine doing completely online, but turned out to be really great. The entire sub team was so engaged. I think that was one fun month for all of us, even though it was a lot of work. And a huge thanks to Galina and her team at ISU for kind of all the work they put in for that. It was definitely a really big change from in-person events to online events, but I think we managed to pull it off really well. And I'm really looking forward to the next Black History Month at Goldsmiths as well. I had a really heavy focus on accessibility this year. It was one of my main goals coming in. One thing I'm working really hard on is making sure to get lecture recordings, proper technology for lecture recordings in campus for students. I think the national lockdown and the COVID and the pandemic in general has really highlighted the need for lecture recordings and how accessibility should be a priority to the college, and it shouldn't just be like a last minute thought that comes in like serious cases like this. We had a no detriment policy in today, and I think one big thing that in recent times I've been working on is about kind of the safety nets and mitigations for students. In our DSC rep conversations this week, it came up as well, and I managed to have a meeting with senior management team, and I'll be able to release kind of all the mitigations and safety nets that they're putting in place. Really looking at the BME attainment gap. We still haven't got the data for that, but we're still definitely chasing it up and making sure that that's there, and that senior management team are held accountable for that kind of data and the work that they're doing to make sure that it is successful. Like Sarah said, fee reductions, obviously huge thing. Complaints and fee reductions have been something that's been talked about since we came into office. Obviously we were students beforehand, and it's something that we were going through as well, and it's something that hasn't gone away. So something definitely that we're working on to make sure that happens. Sarah touched on it, but we've got a lot of internal SU stuff as well going on that takes up a lot of our time, making sure that the SU is able to run properly so that we can support students and our part-time officers. A couple of the fun things was in the 16 Days Against Sexual Violence events that we had, I was able to talk at the sex worker panel that we had that was organised by Joe and Lou and our Against Sexual Violence team, and it was such an amazing event. And yeah, I just want to say thanks for those guys and all the things they've been fighting for and all the work they've done. A lot of racial justice stuff that we've been doing, obviously Gara, that Sarah has touched on, the Black History Month Fund, all stuff that has been coming up. And yeah, I think that's me. I managed to ramble on, I think, for like 10 minutes, but yeah, if you have any questions about anything, feel free to ask.
That was great. Thank you, Fawzia. Yeah, so the floor is open to any questions or comments for the education officer. I'll just give people a minute if they have anything, and then we'll move on.
Georgie, I had that meeting just today actually. And yeah, I think I should be able to get kind of all the information that we've got out by Friday. Hopefully in the form of like a blog post on our ISU website or on my social media. So it was about the no detriment policy, but kind of, I didn't really get as far as them agreeing to a no detriment policy, but I did get all the information about kind of all the mitigations that are already in place. And I was able to raise all the concerns and questions that we had at our DSC meeting about all the practical modules and postgrad. So I'll be able to give all the feedback by Friday, hopefully. If not, you can drop me an email. No worries.
I actually have a question about the no detriment policy. Will it be applying only to, I guess, end of year exams? Because not everyone necessarily has exams, or will it also apply to sort of essays that have gone on throughout the year, sort of retroactively applied, or if that's even possible or fair?
So far, like
just something
the college, the college hasn't put in a no detriment policy so far, in the sense that when I say no detriment policy, I mean a college-wide policy that kind of supports all students in any types of mitigation. So that policy hasn't gone through, but they definitely have a lot of mitigations in place to support students when it comes to final year exams. I know that they are working on a kind of getting rid of the process for extenuating circumstances, in the sense that they'll give students 10 days upfront with kind of no commitments or like no evidence straight away. There's a lot of different mitigations for postgrad students and stuff like that. But so far, no like one out policy that says all supports kind of all students first year, second year, postgrads. So yeah, that's something we're definitely in the conversations with. They are a bit reluctant to kind of put that in place, and it is something that's like a kind of delicate conversation that needs to be had with senior management team. But I think with the kind of overwhelming demand for it from students, I think it's kind of inevitable that it will eventually be put in place.
These links, I do apologise. Yeah, so what you do is you've got 2 days in academic prose, but not like an academic essay.
Sorry, Victoria, was that a question, or was that just a mistake background noise? There's a question in the chat, Fazia. Can something be done about giving long submission time?
That's definitely in the conversations. I think it is definitely way easier this year to get extensions, deferrals, and summer resits. I think there are some conversations in place about allowing long submissions, because obviously it's a tough time. The one thing I can say, sorry,
Victoria, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I completely lost my thought train. Would be to definitely follow up with your departments and really push your departments to kind of give you a straight out answer, because what I'm hearing from the college is that departments should be given this information out freely, kind of any mitigations that are happening in place. It is definitely different from module to module and department to department, which is kind of why they're a bit reluctant with the no detriment policy. But yeah, definitely push with your departments, and I will be following up on kind of all the information that I've got on submission times.
Okay, it's Coco, Fazia.
Oh, hey.
You're right, babe. Yeah, I'm just thinking that just from my experience, I'm music, and just I think just as a way forward, not to make the submissions times the same as they were pre-COVID.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also not to have 2 submissions on the same day.
Yes.
Our minds just cannot cope with it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's just too much. So I'm just thinking that as just for this period of time where we are in this pandemic and we're unsure, that it shouldn't be the old submission dates. They should be pushed. As a matter of course, you can, and maybe just give a broader, you can submit between this date and this date and make it longer.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from.
Sorry?
I said, yeah, I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah. So that's all I'm asking.
Yeah. That's definitely something I can recommend to senior management team to kind of push for with departments. I don't see why that's not possible with kind of the flexibility that we've already got going on with mitigations and extenuating circumstances. And now that we've got kind of the policy that's gone through about no detriment, definitely something we can keep pushing and put forward in like kind of one of our demands if we do end up writing a statement for that. But yeah.
Thank you.
Just a comment about this having not two due dates on the same day,
Yeah.
it might be difficult to sort of organize with different courses having, you know, this massive list of modules, like 12, 15 different modules, and they all have, you know, different due dates. And so I'm not sure how they would be able to organize that.
Mm.
I mean, they potentially could, but it would just be a very complicated thing to sort of make sure that every module and every course has a different due date, although you could definitely make it so
Yeah.
it's more staggered. So
Well-
I do think there's sort of ways of going towards that can happen.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is correct, Oscar. What I'm saying is, within a department, they carefully plan that classes shouldn't clash.
Mm.
Yeah, they painstakingly do that. So why would they not ask each other what submission date, or why would they not know who and what is submitting on a particular day? So I think that careful planning should be carried right through to submission.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it's really tricky with that joint honours stuff, but definitely within departments. And I think this just comes down to kind of the lack of planning from senior management, and especially the lack of communication to departments. This is something they knew that was going to happen. COVID has been around. National lockdown was imminent. It was going to happen. It should have been on kind of staffs and departments and senior management team to organise that properly, to make sure that that burden doesn't fall on new students to kind of have to think about that and think about different dates. So yeah, I definitely both hear both your comments.
Thank you.
No worries. Do you have any questions for me?
I think that should be everything.
Amazing.
I think we can move on to the we can end this section of the forum of full-time officer accountability reports, and move on to sort of open the floor to a few questions, as well as dealing with where's the question? With Maria's question. I'm not sure if Maria is still here. She is. So for now, there's going to be an opportunity for people to sort of suggest any solidarity that they want with any sort of ongoing movements around the world or struggles around the world. There is going to be an opportunity for any part-time officers to sort of discuss anything and deal with this, and for Sarah to answer this question from Maria about how to get to know more about what's going on, and also agree on the next meeting date and time. So I think we should start with Maria's question because she's waited long enough. So Sarah, do you want to answer that?
Yes, I do. Is it possible you can read out the question, Oscar? Or I can.
Yeah, of course. So I decided to attend this event as a confused, kept in the dark, disappointed, outraged first-year student after having found out mainly on my own initiative about the strike action taking place at the moment. As first years, our university's experience is a laptop. How would you advise us to get to know more about what is going on so as to avoid being misled/misinformed or kept in the dark about burning matters such as the assessment boycott? Apologies if you find this irrelevant. I'm happy to vocalize.
No, thank you so much, Maria, for bringing this up. You're not the only student who's confused or unclear about the assessment boycott. So the reason we haven't publicly put out a statement yet is because we spent the last week and a half speaking to UCU, bringing up these concerns, bringing up the frustrations, and seeing how we can articulate on behalf of the students. However, tomorrow, we will be releasing our statement with all of the information about the assessment boycott, about what UCU is currently doing to ensure that they are communicating with students. That's been the massive issue we've had about the lack of communication. The fact that you haven't heard straight from UCU about the assessment boycott says a lot. So we will be doing that. Also, Fauzi and Nikila, I don't think Nikila's here. Fauzi, correct me if I'm wrong. The next staff and student assembly with UCU is Wednesday. Fauzi,
Yes, I think that's correct. If not, I will update people.
Yeah, so we have a UCU staff and student assembly, and that's the space to talk to UCU members about your frustrations, your concerns, any questions you have. I think that space will allow students to directly speak to academics on why they're doing an assessment boycott. Also, it's important to note that this is the last resort for many academics and lecturers to take this assessment boycott. The assessment boycott is because the university continuously puts profit over students and academics' lives, essentially. So I think it's also really important that when we talk about frustrations and outrage, it's pouring it straight to the senior management team because they continuously do this. This isn't just a new strike. I'm happy to have a separate conversation with you, Maria, just to talk about your specific concerns and get you in contact with the right people. But also, I think just to acknowledge that we are working to try to get these answers solved. Yeah, we can provide you with all of the relevant information, hopefully by tomorrow. So it isn't just you and other students being unclear. Does that answer your question? I'm happy to expand if needed.
Yeah, Maria.
Hi, and thanks for the whole forum in general. It's very informative and supportive. And thanks for your reply. To be honest, to this point, I think that I am fully informed of the situation, and I've spent most of the day sending long emails to everyone, beginning from senior management to heads of departments to specific course conveners. I'm never gonna shy out, but I was just wondering, because I felt so hurt and frustrated for being literally kept in the dark. And even though I would like to stand in solidarity with the UCU, I think that it's a big foul that, you know, we knew nothing about this. And it's not like the campus is open and we can pop in Students' Union to have a chat and ask questions about what's going on, what's Goldsmiths and all. Because I'm aware of the meetings, some of the meetings as well. I'm just wondering if there's something more of a community. I don't know. You know, instead of sending angry emails to people or formal emails to people, something amongst us.
Do you mean something amongst students about the assessment boycott? Because I don't know. So I don't know if you, I think you're aware actually.
About issues like that, or the UCU, like how would you suggest for a new student to be informed or keep up with being informed about matters as such? A part of, is it only individual initiative? Is there something else?
So with UCU is academics who are a part of UCU who are doing the assessment boycott. But so to answer your question, I think the best space that we pushed UCU to establish is the student forum. So the staff and student forum, where you can speak to UCU and say, this is my frustrations. It's unacceptable the fact that students have had to wait until a social media post by the student union or another information that is provided by a student. Yes, but you can also alongside talk about acknowledging what precarious workers are being put through by the senior management alongside students' frustrations. I think it still can go hand in hand, because I agree with you. I agree massively the fact that so many students are being screwed over by the government, the universities. Now there's an assessment boycott. Of course, students' mental health is going to radically deteriorate. So I think for us is like, how can we acknowledge what precarious workers are going through alongside saying, this is my frustration and I want to go to this meeting next week and talk to UCU members and see how can we collectively organize whilst you also acknowledge what students are going through. I can put when the meeting is tomorrow, today, I mean, in this chat. And also UCU is now sending out a all staff and student email about the assessment boycott, which breaks down all of the information, why they're doing assessment boycott, how is it going to impact students, how is it going to impact international students. So that's going to slowly but surely break down all of the information that's needed. Let me look at when. I keep talking about student and staff assembly. Let me look when the date is. So I'm sure. But would you want like a space where it's just students, not necessarily UCU, to talk about the assessment?
I don't mind who it's gonna be that much, or I don't mind, you know, what space is gonna be. My main desire would be to know how to be informed on my own, so as I'm not waiting any academic who wants to help or doesn't want to help to give me any kind of patronizing, reassuring pat in the back with, you know, you're going to be taken care of or everything's okay. I want to know what's going on, and I want to find out by myself and assess the information critically by myself.
Yeah, I definitely understand. And I think I agree about like analyzing the situation on your own. Hopefully by tomorrow, once we do release the statement, we can hopefully start communicating and being really transparent with students. The only reason we haven't put anything out is because we didn't want to put out a statement without all of the information. So like knowing what UCU is doing, how are they supporting students? How can we raise the concerns to them in these meetings and then release a statement? So hopefully you can look at our SU channels for further information about UCU. And yeah, hopefully by tomorrow, that's when you can start seeing in the SU publish stuff about UCU. And also in the chat, there's UCU have like published some resources for students. So looking at how they will support students.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks again for all the help.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
There was a meeting today, which popped up in my timetable, which I was like, what is this thing? And then I worked out what it was. However, when I went, because of the amount of stuff that we've been doing and trying to get assessments out, I couldn't find the link in the end. So what I did is I asked one of my tutors, can we not have that sort of stuff? If it's going to be in our timetable, can there not be a link to that online meeting?
Yeah.
Which he said he would organise.
Yeah.
But there was a meeting today.
Was that departmental?
It could have been.
Yeah, because I know what UCU is currently doing is they're having like departmental meetings with their reps. So department reps who are like talking to students to talk about how it's going to impact their departments. Because again, not all academics are doing an assessment boycott.
Okay.
But I know the one next week is a broad UCU meeting. So it isn't just departments, it's a general meeting with UCU and students.
Okay, cool.
Can I add something?
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in here and say that Sam has requested to ask a question as well. So please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, thanks. So I just wanted to add for Maria, and I guess everyone else, that, you know, if you, I'm not sure what department you're in, but there tend to be like departmental meetings, like really often, that you can just turn up to, especially now, like someone will send out a link in a newsletter. So it's just a matter of going through like newsletters and, you know, seeing if there's any meetings on. And then if you go to the meetings, like the tutors and lecturers and everybody, they're really lovely and are so freaking happy when students show up and they're like, yes, this is what we're planning. And so I think I knew about this like several weeks ago, before UCU had published anything publicly, because I went to one of these meetings, and we just had, you know, just in like informal chats with the lecturers. They told us what they were planning. So it's just really great. I would really recommend doing that, because then you get to know your tutors and lecturers a bit better as well, and it just makes everything just really nice, and you stay on top of all the information about what's happening.
Thank you very much, Sam. That was definitely very useful. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add or respond to about this topic.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Luca.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I didn't switch on the camera because I'm not feeling well for a few days, so I try to keep going. Yeah, so I would just like to say to Kokaj, I've been to the meeting today. It was a department meeting for the UCU boycott situation, and yeah, it was just interesting to understand the point of the protest, and it's quite hard to manage in this period because it's something that is adding on everything else. So it's something on top of everything we got struggle for the whole year. And if you need any slide, or I did some recording of the meeting, if you need that, just email me, or I can put email or chat later. And also, thank you to invite me today. Briefly present myself, I'm the president of the Photography Society, third year music student, and I've been voted for the part-time officer, society officer. So I'm gonna meet a few of you, Claire, on Friday to discuss a bit of kind of project we have with the society soon, and also as my position to connect with the other society as well. I just want to say before to finish, I don't want to take too much time because we are probably closing the meeting. So I just want to say we got a project for the end of the year, which is a fanzine, and it will be a way to connect each other between all the causes, and it can be a method to connect the ideas, campaign we discussed today, and other things that come out. So because photography is kind of a wide language, we could discuss to include other projects in this idea we have as a society. Yeah, thank you so much. I put my email here, and that's all. Right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Luca. Echoing people saying, I hope you feel better soon. Unless there's any other things that people want to raise, I think we can move on to a couple of things. One is that just a point that increasing, it seems from even just, obviously there's going to be lower turnout during a pandemic, but student outreach is something that, and obviously Maria has sort of shown how important student outreach is, sort of making sure that students know what's going on and where they can access that information. Whether that's the student forum or these meetings that Sam mentioned, where you can go and talk directly to the lecturers about what's going on and what their plans for, industrial action might be. Because obviously that is a thing, but you have to sort of troll through newsletters to find it, and that might not be the easiest thing to do or the most obvious thing to do. So I think there needs to be some discussion around that, increasing student outreach and making sure it's more clear rather than just in a newsletter that's in an email that's in your sort of your other folder on your email tab, rather than your focused one, because that's where mine always gets sent. I also think we need to agree on the next meeting dates and times. So it looks like it's going to be in March. So on the 10th of March, there's going to be an open motion submission. So motions are open to be submitted on the 10th of March. And then the next student forum will be at the same time, 5 to 7 p.m. on the 17th of March. It's been put in the chat as well. Does anyone else have any other comments to make or questions, or can we sort of end this meeting?
I was just gonna mention just to say well done to Oscar, because obviously it's your first meeting chairing this, and I think you've done a really good job. So I think people would agree, but well done.
Yeah, I want to echo Oscar, you've been a great chair.
Thank you very much. Yeah, okay. I think we're done then. Thank you everyone for coming, for attending the student forum. Thank you for everyone's input. Thank you to the sabbatical officers, to the part-time officers, for showing up and speaking their minds and telling everyone what's been going on. Thank you everyone for your questions, for showing up, for getting involved, for making that effort to get involved and to make sure that your voice is heard, because this is supposed to be the place where that happens. Yeah, I mean, all the questions have been great for just opening up good topics of discussion and making sure that we all know what the general student voice and frustrations are. Thank you to everyone for helping with this. I think we can end it now then. Bye bye everyone.
Bye everyone. Have a lovely
Bye everyone.
Have a lovely day
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hi everyone.
Bye everyone.